Good evening, Talking Hawks fans again, and welcome to another match review live stream. Well, it was a team we hadn't beaten since April of 2018. And for the first three quarters, it wasn't inspiring too much confidence, but the boys stood up when it mattered, kicking 5-1 in the last quarter to get over Melbourne by 35 points. Currently sitting in third with a pretty nice percentage now. How are you feeling about the Hawks at the moment, Chris?
No, really loving it. Like I said, still not playing our best footy, but to be where we are on the ladder and, just doing it rough, just doing what we need to do to chalk up those wins. So, no, it's good. That ball movement's slowly coming back. So I like that aspect of it. But, yeah, being so close for three quarters, I wasn't overly happy with that because I thought we were playing the better footy and we just couldn't quite convert. But that last quarter, yeah, it was great. How did you see the game?
Yeah, I think Craig put it pretty well here that, maybe in the past, the last couple of years, I don't think we get that done, but really showed maturity to keep fighting through what was a tough day in the end. And even Goodwin said in his presser after that those first three quarters are some of the best footy he's seen Melbourne play all year. So we really matched it with them during the game. And, they just fell away in the last, we just, stood up in the last, which is really good to see and just ran over the top of them. And, we needed to cement that win with a tough run incoming, and we did it. And, as you said, not the best, not playing our best. I think we've seen about three quarters of good footy in the last 8 weeks. But, good teams get those dirty, hard-fought wins, and that's what we're doing at the moment.
Yeah, no, I was impressed with Melbourne's intensity. That if you're going to beat Hawthorn, that's why you got to do it with that pressure and tackling. And I thought they did that quite well, but they just lacked that polish that we had. Felt like we should have been a lot further in front earlier in the game. But, it was good to just put the foot on their throats right at the end. And, as we just discussed before that, it was the highest win of the round. So
just saying that before. Obviously a good round of footy, especially some great games today on Sunday, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there watching. Awesome game of footy to all footies today, and good to see us get what was a big win in the end for this round, because that just boosts the percentage up a little bit nicely. And Brisbane sitting at the top of the ladder still after that draw, but their percentage is quite low. So any points we can get will help, especially as a few have mentioned in the chat already so far is, we've got a pretty tough game coming up on Thursday. But, let's reflect on what was a good win last week before we get to that.
Here you go. Here's a nice compliment, Loz. Love your work at the presses. So I actually missed that, so I'll have to go back and watch that. Do you want to elaborate on your question?
Oh, yes. Got to head in there this week. Been once before, but not... To answer your question, no, not there every week, not all the time. But, when we do get a few passes to get through as Talking Hawks, and Tim goes nearly every week and he does an amazing job, helping us all out and asking questions and doing all that stuff. So, and got to get in there, ask a question about Huswaite, which we can probably have a chat about soon, him getting subbed off at halftime. Wasn't in love with that subbing, but his response in terms of bringing McGuinness up on the ball to go on Petrarca and it allowing the movement of Weddle forward, it does make sense at the end of the day.
Yep, and Bailey McDonald injected speed, so happy that he got a game again. I did chat to him at the player sponsor night, and he was sort of giving the impression that he was thinking he was going to get dropped. So it was a good surprise to see him get named again.
Yeah, and as Cons pointed out here, Impey won't play this week. We could also see that's because his partner is expecting pretty soon. So congrats to him and his partner. And it could mean that there is a spot now for Bailey to get that full-time role instead of being the sub, as he has been the last few weeks. So I thought every time he's come on, especially this week, I thought he's been really great, really composed, using his speed when needed. And good to see that, pathway between Box Hill and Hawthorn is still continuing and producing us as strong players.
Yes, it is. And then that's what I said to him. What's the message from the coaching staff? And they just use your assets, which is his speed. He's a reasonably good baller. So, just go on and play to your strengths. And he's done well every time he's come on. So, it'd be interesting to see selection, especially playing in Darwin on a quick turnaround. I'm not sure. I missed the Box Hill game.
Yeah, it was on at the same time basically as the Melbourne game. But if you want to read off some of the stats, Seamus Mitchell, our highest disposal getter with 29, then Bodie Ryan, and then Cody Anderson. Max Ramsden 21 and a goal, and then some of our goal kickers, Jasper Scaife kicked 3, Deer just the 1 and the 6 touches. But it's an interesting situation how he didn't get recalled this week. I thought he might have. Would have been, in my opinion, I feel like it would have been good. Poor Chol had a rough day for those first 3 quarters, having the matchup with May and Lever most of the time. And yeah, it was pretty tough for him. He did kick a few in the last, which was crucial. But yeah, would have liked to see maybe Deer out this week, but hopefully maybe just giving him a bit more of a rest, because we wouldn't want him to necessarily have two games so close together straight away. But yeah, what was your thoughts, Chris? Were you wanting to see Kalsha this week?
I'm more than happy for him just to sort of get his body right, get more minutes into him, just get that confidence back. So yeah, I'm happy to just sit and wait until he's ticked enough boxes. Yeah, there's no point rushing him back. Our forward line's going quite well. We kicked 13 goals on the weekend and had 9 individual goal scorers. So yeah, it's all working at the moment. Just when he's ready, they'll throw him in the mix.
Yeah, exactly. So a few keen Box Hill supporters telling me about what happened. So Ramsden having a good game. Cody
21
Anderson,
touches and a goal, 28 hitouts.
Yeah, awesome from Rama. Sarong and Butler both having good games. But yeah, a lot of comments coming through now. Make sure to get any comments, questions through. We'll try to get to as many as possible. But yeah, a lot coming through about CJ. And as someone who was a CJ doubter, especially coming into this year, I wasn't sure whether he was in our best 22. But ever since he's come back from Box Hill, he's been an absolute star back there.
Yep. No, he's really sharpened up his kicking and is really quite aggressive and attacking. So it's good to see that side of him and that confidence. But yeah, he's been great for the last few weeks. Hopefully he can keep up that form.
Yeah, I think one of our best on the day. Who else were you looking at if you had to give your votes as some of our better players?
I thought Massimo wasn't too bad coming back into a little bit of form. He's sort of just been a bit below his average from last season. So it was good to see him back in the mix. Sicily, again, he was another one who's sort of gaining some form as well. So the ones that stood out, I thought Weddle was great.
Yeah, he as a swingman worked really, really nicely. And yeah, it's interesting. I had it was also at the sponsors evening, so I got to have a chat to a few of the players, including Weddle, and yeah, he's loving the role of moving back and forth, and just quietly he thinks maybe a midfield for future for him. He did imply that, so interesting where his best position is going to come in the next couple of years. But yeah, really liked his game. And I think if we were talking about Sicily, as you mentioned, I thought finally this game was getting back to the old Sis. Yes, there was still a few mistakes. That holding the ball with a few seconds to go was quite, that costed us a goal. It was quite frustrating, especially how close it was. But I thought his kicking was back to, or nearly back to what it was, and was taking those intercept marks that we know and love, and not juggling them like he has the past few weeks. But yeah, a lot of mention. Yep.
That was the one I was going for. A little bit of inside info from Matt there.
Yeah, yep. So he has had ice. Well, he did have ice in his groin a couple of weeks in a row. I don't know if he had this week, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure that was frustrating him a bit, and I'm pretty sure it was on his kicking leg. So that's gonna affect him a little bit. But he was, seemed a little bit down on confidence, dropping those marks. But as we said here, he's holding his marks again, which you'll love to see. Should we mention Warple? I thought he was probably my best on. Been wanting this big game from him. We haven't seen it recently. I don't think as big of a game. We've seen, Newcomb and Ward and McKenzie going well over the past couple of weeks with Daya and Nash out. But yeah, to see Warple really stand up, and geez, we don't want him going anywhere at the end of the year now.
Yeah, well, be interesting. And is he just shopping around just to increase his value? I'm not sure. But I guess, time will tell. But he's not hurting his value at all when he's putting in performances like that. He was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hopefully, Cody, we get onto it soon. But yeah, just super dominant inside, and was able to shark some of Gawn's hit outs, which we needed after he had a pretty good game. We should maybe have a chat about that big key matchup coming into it, which was Meek v Gawn. I thought it was reasonably even. Gawn looked like he was about to tear the game apart in the first couple of minutes of that last quarter, but Meeky didn't have much of the ball. I think only the 4 disposals for him, but
6. Yeah.
Oh, 6 disposals for him. So yeah, a bit of a quieter day for Meeky, but he was all in focused on keeping Gawn quiet. And besides from a few free kicks, I think yeah, he did pretty well to not have a massive impact as Gawn has been doing over the last few weeks.
Yep, and he kicked that goal at the start of the game too. So
yeah,
it's always nice when you big man's hitting the scoreboard. And that was all we were probably after, was him just to try and break even or just nullify Gawn's influence. As he said, he's been in career best form almost, even despite his age. So
yeah.
But as you pointed out, our midfield really did well to shark the ball off him, which I guess they have to do, don't they? If your ruckman's not winning, what was it? It was 33-24, so it was fairly close. But I just thought, yeah, the mids really did well to ruck to Gawn's taps as well.
Yeah. Credit to David Hale, who is the mid coach at the moment, because he did, exactly what we needed. If we were going to lose a hit out, then that's how we work around it, and they did well doing that against Big Gawny. But yeah, a lot of coming through about Warps not wanting to leave, adding value to his signature. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That one. Whoops.
10
clicking buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, when you put that on top of his disposal count of 28, was it? Highest for the Hawks. So yeah, very impressive game.
Yeah, love that. How did you feel about some of our more fringe players this week? I thought Wardy had one of his best games this year. I think, in my opinion, probably his best. And another one that I've been pretty critical of, even a couple of weeks ago, I was like, why is he still in this side? But he's shown his flexibility. He can go to the wing, he can go half forward, and he's also shown when he gets that full-time mid-roll, he can actually hold his own.
Yeah, I don't know if he's just picked up a fraction of pace, but he's getting to really good spots on the ground. He's using the ball well. And like I said, I think a week or two ago, that his decision-making is gotten quicker. It's that time. There's no hesitation now. He's just getting the ball in the hand, getting the ball in the boot, and just, not making as many mistakes as he has been in the past. So that's all you can ask from a young player, to just keep improving. And yeah, he's really solidifying that spot, isn't he now? He's been given that opportunity, and he's holding it down quite well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting with Mackenzie potentially returning this week, and Nash most definitely returning, as long as nothing goes wrong with him the week after. It'll be interesting to see, if he's playing this well, you can't drop him. So what are they going to do? That's what happens when you get a win. It makes selecting the squad really tricky, and the fact that we have that short 5-day turnaround, I wonder if it sounded like maybe there's a few that could potentially get a rest this week. Mitchell did say in his presser they're flying a massive squad up, and they'll decide closer to the game about who's feeling well enough to play, who's going to be rested. But there was a comment, apologies, way back, don't think I can find it now, but just saying, if we have to rest the players, we should do it. We shouldn't be going into the Brisbane game the week after with 20 sore blokes. We want to make sure that, this game is probably going to be tough. I would say most of the time we would lose. So we don't want to lose this one and then play all of our older blokes and then come into the Brisbane game really underdone.
Well, I missed the Bulldogs game. I do like watching Bulldogs versus Gold Coast. I always put on a good show. But yeah, if Bulldogs gave them a run for their money, hopefully they've got a few sore bodies that and playing back to back in Darwin. I'm not sure how they'll recover from that as well. So hopefully we head up early and acclimatise a little bit, have that training run, and hopefully it sets us in good stead to give it a good crack. But I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind resting some players, kind of like what Collingwood did over in Freo. They still managed to go over and get the win. if we do rest players, I'm not expecting the win. If we put our best team on the field, I'm probably still not expecting the win, but
Agreed,
hopefully we can be competitive.
Yeah, I think a few blokes, maybe like Gunston, even potentially Sicily, but we'll wait and see when that comes through. But yeah, as Sean and a few others have said, Mitchell confirmed that we're heading up tomorrow to get up there, get acclimatized, because it will be hot and sticky and humid. So it takes a while to get used to. That's why Gold Coast just have such dominance up there, because they play those conditions well, same as how we play down in Tassie. But yeah, sadly Nash is out. I think he's the type of guy to go really well in those conditions and be a good matchup for Rao. But someone else is going to have to stand up, and I think hopefully Nuke is another type that can go well in the Northern Territory.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just don't know what changes they'll make. What are you thinking, or should we cover that later in the show?
Yeah, well, if we want to have a chat about it now, I mean, it's a genuine roll of the dice to me. I wouldn't mind, like, obviously we can have a chat about Gunston, because another dominant performance from him on the weekend, just like unbelievable. But with his importance now to this side, we want him fit and firing at the MCG against his old side, Brisbane. So maybe even a sub role for him. I feel like something like Bruce probably won't play, maybe one of the defenders or two. But yeah, Scrim tracking to be back, so we could rest a defender. We already rested Barris, so he should be back playing this week. And yeah, it'll be an interesting one, I'm sure. But yeah, Chris, let's have a chat about Gunston's game. Back to the Demons match. He's in some fine form.
Yeah, he is, and he's just so smart, and that's all you need to do. I said he's looking fresh. He's nimble. He's just doing everything right. So I don't know how you can keep resting him when he's playing so well. It's like you said, there's that temptation to try and preserve him. But yeah, it'd be interesting. Well, like you said, his body's looking really good. So I don't know if you do need to rest him, do you?
Yeah, it just all depends on how he's feeling, I guess. I mean, as you pointed out, he's looking as fit as ever. Even I've noticed, when I first saw him back to the club last year, that he just looked, a little bit like how you would as a 30-plus-year-old playing AFL. But yeah, he just looks as fit as he did 5 years ago. And yeah, third in the Coleman, or equal third in the Coleman at the moment. But yeah. AA, talking about All-Australian, getting an article written about him potentially, sneaky All-Australian. If he keeps it up and keeps playing games and keeps doing what he's doing, kicking straight, he'd be nearly in the lead. He's kicking so many behinds each week. But yeah, shout out to Gunners, because he's doing it well for some of the older blokes out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, I think he's probably the only one that's All-Australian contention at the moment. Sicily's been close in the past. Obviously, Morey got the jacket last year, but his form's been down. Although he bounced back on the weekend. I think he's been carrying a little bit of a foot injury there. But his game on the weekend was really good, especially if he has been carrying a little bit of an injury.
Interesting. You raised a good point about potentially if we had an All-Australian side at the moment, who would be in. And the only one I can think of is Amon is another one. But yeah, Gunners and Amon on my two. I know Amon's missed the last week, but those are my two. Leave in the comments who you think potentially could be in All-Australian contention at the moment for this Hawthorn side. But yeah, for me, I think probably just Amon.
Josh Batter, maybe.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, there's been so many good, key backs, centre half backs in the league at the moment. There's only a few spots for them, but I think Battle's been working away pretty well. And he had an interesting game on the weekend, I thought. Melbourne doesn't have a greatest forward line, but I thought he was a little bit quieter after a really dominant week against Richmond.
Yeah, maybe it was hard just the way Melbourne brought the ball into the forward line, and that was probably part of the game plan, not to kick it up there for him to mark and spoil. Same with Sicily. So maybe it was just the way that Melbourne played that prevented them from standing out so much.
Yeah, for sure. I thought the way that we moved the ball, I found it interesting how quickly we could shift from doing that kind of stagnant ball movement that they really forced us down the line in the first 3 quarters, but to keep pushing, open it back up in that last quarter was really impressive, and to show that, you know, even when they're down, they can figure out ways to get through it no matter how late into the game.
Yeah, no, well, like you said, it was a bit of an arm wrestle until we really broke it open. Whether that's partly due to our fitness as well, but yeah, if that's all we need to do to win the games, that's good enough for me. I'd like to be playing like that for 3 or 4 quarters, but 1 quarter was enough this week. Not that we played bad before that. I think it was just Melbourne put that pressure on and it just restricted us. Because I thought, like I said, I thought our ball movement was really good. The handball, 2, 3, 4 handball links before they got it on the boot, and the ball movement was really good. It was just couldn't convert once we went forward early on.
Yeah, exactly. I thought we kicked a bit straighter, which was nicer. Still 13-13, but it felt like when we needed a goal, we were able to slot them a bit more. But what did you think? This is another interesting talking point. What did you think about Clayton Oliver being sent to Newcombe? It was a pretty hard tag in the end, just following him everywhere. I thought Nuke did pretty well to get away from him at points, especially towards the second half of the game. How do you see that?
I didn't actually really notice it, but now that you say it, like, Jai was pretty quiet. And I guess with Will Day not being there, he's probably the next most important one, which should probably allowed Walker to get off the leash a little bit. But yeah, I thought he handled it quite well, and it was probably a good move by Melbourne to do that because it kept him in the game. So kudos to them.
Yeah, I think what was interesting in the press conference Goodwin said was that Viney was always going to him, and you raise a good point about with Day out now, Newcombe's going to have to start learning to get through these tags. He was tagged a couple of times last year, even with Day in the side, but yeah, it's a skill to break through it, and only the best of the best can get through something like that. And I just thought it was interesting. A couple of years ago, it was Goodwin in a press conference saying, well, Finn McGuinness doesn't want to go for the ball when he was tagging, and now he's sent Clayton Oliver to do the exact same thing. So pretty interesting point. One of the Hawthorn Instagram pages raised that point, and yeah, one to note to get over the top of Goody, who's had our measure for quite a while. Yeah,
as you said, it was just good for him to sort of persevere and get through that. He ended up with 19 touches, which was, I think, 7 kicks, was it? And 12 handballs. So obviously Jai normally kicks more than he handballs predominantly. So it obviously shows, that he was getting a little bit of attention and wasn't getting enough time to sort of get onto his boot. So we'll see if other clubs follow suit and try and restrict him as well. But yeah, we just need to help him out as a midfield group and just block for him.
Yeah, exactly. And when Nash gets back, that'll be much more clearer, and it will help guys like Nuke out. But Joshua raises a good point here. I thought it was a pretty frustrating watch during those first 3 quarters because we were making those bad turnovers, the ones that are in our back half, in their front half, and they were just scoring so easily and so quickly off it because we couldn't turn around and defend quick enough. So yeah, we've played some, bottom of the ladder sides over the last 3 weeks, and if we bring that to Gold Coast, if we bring that to Collingwood, bring that to Brisbane, they will punish us a lot worse than any of these teams have done. So we need to make sure we clean it up. And as you said, even though we're winning, we're not playing our best footy, and sometimes that can be good. But with a tough run coming up, we should hopefully, get that sorted out, get that focused on this week.
Here's one from Brooke asking us about Connor McDonald. How do you feel he's travelling at the moment?
Yeah, good point. I think he's been really quiet since he came back. Obviously, first game back, he kicked 1-3. Then the next game, he kicked a few behinds again, maybe another goal there. But yeah, just a little bit quiet. I know it can, especially for a guy playing his kind of role, you can easily have a few games in a row where you are quiet, especially with the likes of Watson and Ginnivan. I thought Ginnivan's another one who's since coming back from being dropped has stood up quite well. And just maybe he's a bit off. Maybe he's just working his way back into it after an injury. So I think a little quiet from CMAC recently, but I would no doubts that a good game will be coming soon for him.
He had 11 touches. But like you said, playing that position is a real hard thing to do and be consistent. Like Maury's done for so long to average sort of that 20 touches as a high half forward. So 11 touches isn't that far off the mark. But again, he's just probably set that bar so high that the expectations of him you just have is really high. So, but I mean, he pushes all the way back down into defence. So I think it's a lot of running and efforts that he puts in. And you may not get rewarded on the stat sheet, but I think he really helps our structure.
Yeah, for sure. He definitely plays the role in the team well, and maybe not having starring roles, but he's doing what the team needs at the moment. That's all you can ask for. Another small forward or half forward that had a good game was Watson. Thought he played really well and was able to capitalize on their backline being a little bit slow.
Yeah, he does well at getting under the skin of the opposition. So he was really active. Just that defensive, like the smothers, the pressure, axe tackling and stuff like that. So yeah, I love what he brings to the team. And again, like Cyril's just been mentioned there. So yeah, it's just that tenacity and pressure that he puts on, even though he only had the 8 touches, I think. 2 goals. That's a great by him.
Yeah, Jeb brings up a good point here that I mentioned last week about how just some of our small forwards are a little bit out of form at the moment, like Maury, like C-Mac, just, a bit off the high standards that we have for them after, some solid games last year. And I think, someone like Adir, Scaife, just another tool down there to bring the ball to ground will do them a world of good. And once that happens, I think we'll see a bit of a shift in how they play.
So how does that work, Lost? We keep Gunston in as playing that third tall and run with 3 smalls?
Yeah, I think it worked really well last year when we had Deer, Chol and Gunston. And then, the three smalls with another one, I guess, rotating off the bench or more going into the midfield occasionally. But, it'll be very interesting when Lewis comes back because you definitely cannot play all 4. But it keeps some some fight for some spots. I mean, maybe if we were up against a very tall backline, but I doubt it. I doubt we would ever play those 4.
No, I agree with that. Will be interesting coming up. How far is Mitch Lewis away now? Another 5 or 6 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, I think last week it was something like 5 to 7, so probably 4 to 6 a month or 2 away. But obviously, we'll need at least a couple of games at Box Hill, and we'll be very excited to watch him down there and see how he goes. And he could really be pivotal coming back later towards the second half of this season, even into the finals. But if we get there, about how he could impact, because I think it's easy to forget he was really important to us. And when we were an average side, he was the one down there kicking all the goals and being threatening. So. Yeah, really keen to get him back and just have a look and have that fight for that key forward spot.
Well, if they can work together well, I mean, Chol's probably averaging 2 goals a game being that number 1 forward. So if he can be the number 2 forward, like you'd like to think he could maintain that as well. But I just think Chol's pressure, his ruck work, it's just too important for him to get dropped, I think.
Yeah, lots of love coming in here for Chol, which is good to see, because I know he can, he's kind of the first one to get the blame if he doesn't kick a goal and we lose. But he has one of the hardest roles in the league, which is to be the only tall forward really in a side. And to get all the attention every week, to still bob up for a few goals every game is really credit to him. And I really like what he does at centre bounces in the ruck, and his pressure around the ground can be really good.
I think he's lifted that consistency this year. He's still a little bit hot and cold at times, but nowhere near as bad as he's been in the past, I don't think. So I think that, is going to be great for his confidence just to keep doing that week in, week out. I can't remember the last time he had a bad game.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe just quickly some chats coming through about our next, say 4 weeks. So after a pretty cruisy run the last couple of weeks now, we're playing some of the top sides. Maybe just the next 4 I'll go through, Chris. You tell me whether you think we win or we lose. So first one, obviously, Gold Coast up in Darwin.
I've penciled that one as a loss. Like I said, I hope we're competitive. It'd be impressive if we could go up there and knock them off, but that's an L for me.
Yep, I tend to agree with that one. I've said this a couple of times, but yeah, as soon as the fixture dropped, I looked and said 5-day break Darwin. Yeah, no way. No matter how good form we're in, I doubt we get that done. But the next week we come back to the MCG playing Brisbane in the Saturday afternoon time slot. Bit sad that that's not a prime time game, but what do you reckon about that game? We've had the wood over them for a while, but they're probably due.
I was just about to say that we've had the wood on them. We're coming off a 9-day break. I'm not sure what they're coming off. But yeah, it's for them similar. To only just draw with North Melbourne today. Be pretty confident that we can win that one. Yeah,
actually, my mistake. They actually have a much shorter break, so they are playing the Sunday before when we are playing the Thursday. So yeah, they do have a shorter break and have to fly down here. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I think I'm going to be kind of on the fence and say we lose one of the Brisbane game and lose one of the Brisbane and Collingwood game and win the other one. I'm not sure which is which, but I think we'll win and lose one. So what do you think about the Collingwood one?
Well, they're in some bloody good form. I've watched quite a few of their games this year, and they don't really have a weakness. So yeah, it will be interesting. Again, it's a team that we've played really well against in the recent history, so I like our chances. Yeah, 50-50 for me, but I'm going to try and be confident and say we will win that one.
Yep, and then the next one after that is a Thursday night game against the Doggies at Marvel, who, predicted at the start of the year maybe to have an average year with all their injuries coming in, but now Bont's back, still missing a few, but they're looking very good.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty impressed with their outfit at the moment. At Marvel too. Yeah, it's tough. Whereas you're probably opposite. I reckon that's pretty danger game, 50-50, but maybe we'll lose it. Don't know.
I think, we got the win. They were our first, genuine good win last year at Marvel. It was a close one, and we just got over them in the end after letting them kick the first 3 or 4. So I have the confidence to say that we can win that one, or I'm predicting that we'd win that one. But yeah, as Kerry said, I'm definitely going to be nervous and not confident going into any of these upcoming games. That's for sure. It's going to be.
I thought Richmond and Melbourne were somewhat danger games, even though we've sort of got through them quite well in the end. But yeah, no, that would set us up well so that we can afford to drop a couple. But hopefully we can just be competitive and sneak a couple more wins through that. Like you said, if we get through the 4 games or 5 tough games coming up and get 2 or 3 wins, I'll be pretty content with that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what we need. At least need to get to hopefully out of the next 3, and then we get it. Our run softens up a little bit with a couple of the games down at Tassie, which is good to see. We love it down there as of recently, and all time really. But yeah, I think it'll be fun couple of weeks now. Hopefully some good games where we'll see, we'll really hopefully rise to the occasion and play some of that awesome footy that we want to see from them.
We've been scrapping wins, so if we can bring the other teams down to our level and just scrap them, I'll take a win. Doesn't matter how we get it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an interesting kind of game. If we're going to go back to the Melbourne game, I think our biggest weakness kind of at the moment, Harvey Langford, Mitchell said in his presser, we had no answer for him. He kind of played, pretty sure, like a little bit half forward, bit of mid, sometimes wing. I think that's where he goes. And yeah, we just didn't have the matchup for him. And when a 8-gamer, I think something like that, if he's played all the games, is doing that to you. And I mean, obviously he's going to be a future star. His form since he started playing has been great. But yeah, just a few worrying signs about not being able to stop such a young player.
Well, what do you do as a coach? Do you put a player on him? Like you said, he's an 8-game player or something like that. Is it
Yeah.
that important, or is he just sort of, how much can you respect that? I guess that'll be something I might look at next time they play them. But, I'll have to keep an eye on him because he's, had an impressive start to his career.
Yeah, definitely potentially one there for the rising star. But I think we did end up sending McGuinness. Well, Mitchell mentioned that he sent McGuinness a little bit to track just to stop him a little bit, which is good to know when Finn's in the side. I thought Finn himself didn't necessarily star. He did what he needed to do and pulled off some nice kicks. But, was able to quell his influence a little bit. I think Petrarca was one of their best on for that first half, and then didn't see too much of him by the end of it.
Yeah, he did taper off a little bit. Yeah, he was quite influential early on. But, it's something that Finn just has to do, doesn't he, when he's the man to go to without Nashi there. So did played his role for the team and, help us get the win.
Yeah, talking point from the game that I've seen all over the media was that non-paid free kick to Cozzy Pickett from Blake Hardwick tripping him over. I thought it was a fiery crowd. There was 50,000 there in the end, which is, credit to Melbourne because maybe not credit to Melbourne. There was a lot of Hawk supporters there, but it's a lot bigger crowd for their home games than they normally get. But the crowd was woof. They were up in arms. It was pretty electric there based on the umpiring alone. It ended up being 22-22 free kicks in the end, but it's normally the ones that are unpaid that are worse than the ones that are.
Oh, that's footy, isn't it? They got the toughest job, those umpires. But that trip was pretty clear to me. I was pretty surprised they missed that one. Anyway, didn't change the result of the game, did it?
No, exactly. We put out an article just down here, www.talkinghawks.com, about the way that we've actually got a pretty good rub from the umpires recently, winning a lot of the free kick counts, which, the last 5 years we haven't been winning. We've been very down the bottom of those, free kick count differentials. So, it's got to turn your way at some point, but yeah, it helps. It helps when you're getting a few frees here and there that maybe you didn't need, but I don't think it had anything to do with us winning that game.
I would love to see a chart of free kicks and where they're paid. I feel like we get them in the back line and hardly get them down forward, and then the opposite for the opposition. They're always getting them in the forward line, kicking goals from free kicks. So, don't know. It's easier to say, you had more free kicks, but how impactful they are is where I sort of view that really hurts us at times. But
yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the midfield, talking of the midfield as a whole, just going through some of my notes and how we were, -6 for clearances in that second quarter. I thought the way that the midfield turned that around in the second half, especially obviously in that last quarter, was really good. And I'm liking what the midfield is doing at the moment, especially with those big names out. Like, having a midfield of Ward, Worpel, Newcomb. Obviously, there's some great players in there, but Ward's just gotten the call up. Morey ran a lot through the midfield in the second half when Hustwaite was off. We're making do with what we've got at the moment, and for them to struggle in the first half and really get it over the top of them in the second half shows that we've got a great midfield there, even without some of our stars.
Yeah, and we don't have much choice at the moment, do we? With Will Day, Nashi out of there. So we're just making do with what we've got, but it's good experience to get those young guys more minutes in there. We know how they've sort of, Cam McKenzie's and your Wards sort of have only been getting, minimal 10-20% of those centre bounce tendencies. To lift that, those minutes and centre bounce attendances is going to be good for them and their confidence. I don't mind it. It's a good time of year for this to be happening. Hopefully we can get that stronger midfield back sooner rather than later. But Nashi's how far away is Nashi? 2 more games, is he?
Yeah, so not this Gold Coast game, the week after the Brisbane game.
Good time.
So hopefully they're to stop Lockie Neal, who had a bit of a down game today. But yeah, I think he's always can stand up and win his game off his own boot. So it'd be good to have a bit of a match up for him to put body on him. But if we're just having a quick chat about the free kicks, well, since 2000 we're second lowest. So
Wow.
we haven't had the greatest go over the last few years, getting reasonably lucky this year. But I think probably, as this person mentioned, free kicks equate to tackling properly and footy IQ. Well, that's definitely in there. Definitely in there. When we were a worse team, we were getting less free kicks. It makes sense at the end of the day.
Yep. No, I agree with that.
Lots of comments coming through about potentially picks for next week. So it sounds like Scrimmage should be back. Peter, we're not dropping CJ. That's not happening. Not when he's in this form. No way. There's about 20 other blokes that could have gone before he could be dropped before him for this week, I reckon. But yeah, it could be just straight Impey out, Scrimshaw in. But then I feel like we're just a little bit too tall in that back line. Maybe they could do something like move Massimo to the half-back line, someone onto the wing a bit more. But yeah, interesting. As I said earlier in the live stream, it's going to be a hard team to predict. I'm sure they'll know exactly what to do, but as fans that don't have the inside scoop, will probably be a few changes that we're not expecting when the teams drop on Wednesday.
There we go. It's John here. Will Mackenzie be ready? I believe he's been. Oh well, it's likely he will play, which is a quick turnaround after he had surgery, didn't he, on his hand? But
yes, yep.
That's what they do these days: have hand surgery and miss a game. Sometimes they don't even miss a game, I reckon. But
yeah, well, Silvani fractured his hand but didn't have to have surgery and was back a week later. So yeah, maybe surgery. Yeah, we'll add the extra week or two for Kenzie. But hopefully, yeah, if all's tracking well for him, he should be back. And told me that he's going to be playing with a glove for a while, which will be interesting to see. Hopefully, if it's anything like Cloak's glove, he'll be clunking a few marks that he wouldn't normally do. But yeah, good to get Kenzie back. I've really liked his year. He's continuing to improve exponentially, like week after week. So love to have him back, and he adds that bit of pace into that midfield as well, which I think we've just been missing a little bit over the last few weeks.
It'll be interesting, when you've got to tackle, smother, handball, it is quite an impact on that hand. So I guess it'll depend how he trains, I guess. But yeah, we missed him. We missed not having him there. I think he's been really good this year. Yeah,
definitely. As a midfield as a whole, even with Mackenzie, even with Day, if we were fully fit, I do still think our midfield is just lacking a bit of that burst. Newcomb has it, obviously, but some of the, the Dacoses, the Butters, those type of players that can really just get away from anyone over that 5-10 meters. Mackenzie's one that brings a little bit of that to the side. But yeah, I think as we, slowly start to wrap it up here tonight, I think we should look to maybe getting in some predictions for the Gold Coast game, something more specific than just a win or a loss. Give me your margins. If it's going to be a loss, how big's the margin? If it's going to be a win, how big's the margin? And potentially any players that, these slippery, hot, wet conditions will suit.
So, like you, Loz, I never think about this before we talk about it.
I
feel like we're going to be competitive for the first half, and then they'll run away with it. I'm hoping we can keep it under 30 points. I'd be sort of pretty content. If it's anything much more than that, I'm going to be a bit upset, but wouldn't be surprised because, they're a really good outfit. So,
yeah, they obviously had
ones there. Hawks by 23.
Yep. They obviously had that big win over us last year, which, I mean, maybe we have to give thanks for them because that really turned our entire season around. Maury saying bring your mouth guards to training after that game. So they'd probably be, pretty, not angry, but, they don't need a revenge win, but they will be wanting to suit up and play a much better game than they did this time last year. So, yeah, I think a few more coming through that are Gold Coast. Okay, yep. Hawks by 6. Yep. Draw. What's it for? Ooh. I mean, I'd take a draw. I'd take a draw at the end of the day.
Yeah, true. I would. I'm going to go for Connor McDonald to sort of bounce back. Talked about how he's been just average of late, but I feel like he's not through lack of effort, and I feel like he's going to get rewarded this week and put 3 snags on the board.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think, short turnaround. I know someone mentioned this before. Gold Coast also do have the 5-day break, but it's a little bit easier for them, obviously, because they are already up there. They're already acclimatizing to the conditions. So even though we both have the 5-day break, we have to fly and they don't. So yeah, it makes it a little different that way. But yeah, I think C-Mac's a great shout. Oh, let's say I'm going to go again. I'm going to say Sicily back to back. Another good performance from him. So yeah, I feel like a bit of his comeback game this week, and yeah, another one to just really cement that, okay, Sis is back. He can kick, he can mark, he can do exactly what we know he can do. And yeah, that's what I would love to see this week. But if I'm going to go someone in the conditions, yeah, maybe someone like a Watson or a Newcomb that know how to handle that, slippery bouncing ball a bit well than others.
Big call by Craig. Frenchie to come back and dominate with 30 with the glove.
Yeah,
I like
interesting. Love it. But yeah, Peter's got the right point here. Still haven't seen that 4-quarter performance in a while. We've been mentioning it week after week. So hopefully that's something that can come soon, where we just really go out a team all game. But yeah, that's what you want to see, even if the loss does come. Yeah, maybe we should have a quick chat about Mass. I think he was having a down year towards. At the start of the year. Now the last couple of weeks, he's really been able to find the footy a lot more, and we want the footy in his hand as the kick he is. Yeah,
no, he's definitely sparked back. Like I said earlier, I was happy with his game. He'll be very important against Gold Coast with that run and carry. If he can deliver some of those darts inside the forward 50, set up a few goals. He's been hitting the scoreboard himself a little bit too recently. So, yeah. And I'd be happy if he can continue that vein of form and, help pull us over the line.
Yep, yeah, exactly. Gunners 4, yep. I think, Peter loves the meters gain stat. Very good.
It's a good battle between him and Amon with their kicking.
Yep.
And even Sicily when he's on fire. Yeah, they're getting that
Battle's
600
another
on a regular
one.
basis. Yep.
Battle's another one with meters gain. But Cody, great point here. Gold Coast are a side that really do, fumble under pressure, and as are most teams. But I think I don't know if I've really seen. I mean, I haven't seen us give elite pressure, over the last couple of weeks. So now that we're playing a much higher rated side, that has to come with it, and obviously short break makes that a little bit harder to give it your all for the entire game. But if we want to win, I think that's what has to be done.
Well, they've got a pretty elite midfield that's humming along right now, so it's going to be pretty tough to compete against that. So if we can try and nullify that contest in the middle, hopefully we can make it a good contest. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, as you said, nullify it, and we should do well. Even if we lose by a little bit, I think we'd still do well. If we got smashed, I think that's when we start having big issues. But yeah, we haven't played an amazing midfield in the last couple of weeks, so it's going to be a bit of a change, and could potentially see a reality check in that midfield if with all those players out. But we'll wait and see. There is, John pointed out here, there is the option to send Finn to someone. I don't think it'll be something that's done early in the week. I think in game, if anyone's dominating, but Noah Anderson is a very good player, but one that is quite susceptible to tags. If you put someone on him, he often doesn't go too well. So someone we could go to potentially. Is that what you would think about, maybe giving Finn a role at some point, or just let him play and see how the game lies?
Well, the way Sam's operated this year, he hasn't started with it, but just leaves it up his sleeve when he needs to pull that card. So, but yeah, it's a fair point, and it's probably one of the ones that you would go to, Noah Anderson. I don't know if he's got the pace to keep up with who. Can't think of his name.
Took Miller, Rao, Flanders.
Yeah, Took Miller's the one I was had in my head. I think Took might be just a little bit too quick for him to tag. But Matt Rowell would be a great one for him to stop as well. I think big body, he can handle, the similar size. If he can, either two of those players, I'd be happy for him to go to if they're sort of getting off the leash.
Yeah, exactly. And sadly, this point comes around every time we play the Suns that Anderson's dad was just one game away from him being a father-son for us, which is annoying. But, who knows? He could come to us one day. But, yeah, sadly, we don't get to see it. But if we don't want him playing well, so potentially to send someone to him could be an option. But, yeah, great point here. Yeah, smaller pace, pressure, all those things. I feel like, someone like a Weddle, annoyingly, I think Impey would have done really well in these conditions as well. But unfortunately, we won't have them. We did mention that earlier, but if you missed it, yeah, Impey will be out. He's confirmed out because his partner is expecting. So yeah, but I think if we want to go back to, maybe I'll amend my point. Maybe Weddle is one that could really star this week.
Well, throw him in the midfield. He's asking for it.
That's what he wants. Oh, amazing. Could you imagine? Well, as I said, we'll wrap it up in a sec. Maybe just the last few comments we'll get to are about any predicted changes. I'm seeing a few of those coming through. Who do you think could be rested? Who do you think could be brought in? But yeah, I think so far it's been a very good season. It's been an enjoyable season. Yes, there's, been a little ups and downs recently, but I think the way we're going, points on the board right now, we have them with those seven wins and 2 losses. So you got to be happy with that.
Yeah, well, like I said, that we've snuck over the line in some good games. That Geelong one that got away from us, that was one we should have won. So yep, just need to keep improving week on week. Sort of started to move the ball a bit better, I feel, last couple of weeks. So hopefully we can just keep that progression and be competitive this week. Imagine we win up there. That
would be probably our best win of the year. Absolutely. No matter if we did it in a horrible way, it would still be a massive win. So coming through, Bruce and Impey out, Bruce rested, Cam and Scrimmer in. That all tracks well to me. But I think we'll wrap it up here. Just make sure to subscribe, like, all those good things on the Talking Hawks YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. It will tell you 30 minutes before we go live. It does kind of change week to week depending on when we are playing. But we try to get to you guys. Make sure we get a live stream going every single week. There's podcasts coming out all the time. Timmy's having some great interviews. Had one with the opposition analysis coach just a week or so ago. That's a really interesting listen. And 6 Points, our recap podcast, that's a little bit more formal than what we do here, will be out very soon, I'm sure. So as I said, follow us Twitter, X, Instagram, Facebook, all those lovely things. But Chris, we've got our work cut out for us this week, but it's a Thursday night game. We can have a bit of a distraction over the weekend if we do get the loss.
Yes, it'll be a good weekend, wouldn't it? Party all weekend. But lastly, what are you thinking, Barras? He obviously got rested after that fall from the big mark. Some sore ribs, I believe. So
for us,
don't know if he's going to be out or in. I think he's been in the hyperbaric chamber to try and help that recovery. But what do you think? Does he come back in?
I think so. I mean, I doubt we rest him if the plan wasn't to just bring him back, unless he is carrying a bit of a bigger injury that we don't know about yet. But Ben King is a very, very good player, very good forward that needs a matchup. And I think Barras or Battle, one of the two, combination of both, will go to him and hopefully stop him. But and also, King is leading the Coleman at the moment, with Gunston just 4 behind at the moment. So we could see a changing of the guard in this game potentially if Gunston does get the game. But
possible matchup for Weddle.
Yeah, could be. I think King is just a little bit too strong for him, just a little bit. But I don't know. There's been some interesting matchups that I necessarily wouldn't have expected. So, and it's been working out. So I don't think, besides Hogan, I think, who had a pretty good game against us, we haven't really had a tall forward super dominate us, kick 5 or 6 plus. So yeah, I think I'll trust them to do what they want. But in my opinion, probably Barras and a combo of Battle, I think. But yeah, awesome. Wonderful. Everyone, thank you. Thank you guys for hopping on, keeping the comments coming through. That's awesome to see. And we'll make sure to catch you next week. Go the Hawks.